So talking about extra-dimensionals, extraterrestrials, aliens, all these different things that are pretty popular and kind of always have been since, you know, the early 1900s. It's the idea of something beyond this earth. It's something that we're all very interested in, or I think most people are. I looked at a statistic and it's actually grown that more people believe in extraterrestrials than do believe in God. Now, I think this is an interesting thing because we're kind of melding two things of spirituality and empirical science into this thing of, you know, beings beyond our planet and our reality as we look at it. Now, I do communicate with some higher entities or beings. I believe are angelic beings that, well, I know personally are angelic beings, but you know, I'm not going to push my opinion on you. Whatever you believe is what you choose to believe. But when they look at the way our culture perceives UFOs and perceives these alien races, they tend to look at us kind of like how we would look at a puppy who you know, does something silly and is just growing, is learning, and we understand that, but we kind of laugh a little bit and we look at them and, you know, we have concern that they're doing the right thing to grow and to become the full-grown, you know, being that they're supposed to become or that they will become. And I feel something similarly when I communicate with these angelic beings, which have come out in public, and people have recorded them, and they've, in different ways of how they express, many people have seen them in their own experiences, and you know, they do exist, and they're around you. We have the ability to tap into them very easily. God has given us that ability, the full spirit, if you will, the source spirit that is God, has given us that ability to tap into that higher realm and that higher realm of beings. So now we look at why haven't we found extraterrestrial life yet? And, you know, we have the SETI project, which is looking to try to find, you know, intelligent life or get a signal back. But it's really interesting because we base it on radio waves and, you know, finding like a signal back, sending a signal back, which if we really think about it, that's a long shot, considering there's a multitude of ways beings could exist in the universe. Now, I won't even get into the spirit side of it yet, but we look at our race of individuals on planet Earth, and we look at all the species on planet Earth, and there are many different ways they can survive. You know, we don't just have warm-blooded organisms living on the planet. Something I look into, which the spirits I've talked to have also been interested in, is mushrooms and fungi, and how powerful that intelligence is. And humans, in our ego and in our arrogance, we tend to think that we are the most intelligent race on the planet. Now, that's a pretty big hubris to think that way, but we were told that from an early birth, that we are the top of the chain. We have ascended beyond these beings around us, these animals around us, to have some sort of dominion. And the only dominion I believe that we've had or we've obtained is that of stewardship. Now, we've been able to access all these elements and combine them into beautiful things like this camera, these glasses, clothes, all these things. We've worked the system out to create something that is beneficial for our lives, but we've kind of lost sight of the importance of something deep down within ourselves, that true nature of spirit nature, that which is closer to the animals and the plants, the trees, the fungi, that essential nature of existence, we lose sight of that. And deep into our DNA is so complex and such a small thing, yet it can program essentially these races of beings, all of us, to do exactly what we're doing now. And a lot of people theorize that DNA writes out our entire life, that our entire life is written out in DNA. So we can see conceptually that there's a lot we can look into in that type of thinking. And that might be important, and it is important for our learning, our growth as humans and our growth as beings in general. But we can't lose sight of that deep spiritual nature that's within us. And I'm talking fundamental spirituality, which is the fact that we exist, we're conscious, we know that we are a part of our environment that we're in, and that's a huge thing. And so when we take away the conceptuality and all these different things, when talking about alien races and these, the whole theory and equation of how many intelligent races exist in the universe, if we take that back and just reevaluate it and see it in different lights, we might understand how different organisms can live in different ways. And that, I believe, is our growth right now, our kind of downfall, but the purposeful downfall, so we can grow to understand this in a deeper, more intimate and essential way, which life doesn't just come from carbon. It's not this thing that is reliant completely on H2O, sunlight, radiation. We see these organisms, I don't remember exactly what they were, but they're look like slug things at the bottom of the ocean that survived on sulfur, that are able to survive and sustain and live without sunlight, or very, very little sunlight, like maybe a percentile, 1% of what we survive on as humans. So, and that's an important discovery, because that shows the adaptivity of life in general. So when we look at life, we try to understand what it means, or what is life. Like, how can we pin it down? Is it sentient? Is the sentience that which gives life, or is there something else? And how do we determine and measure sentience? We can't. That's one thing that is not measurable on a micro level. We can. It takes somewhat of some small amount at least, or a lot of times a lot of intuition, to believe and to see that somebody is sentient, or that some being is sentient and self-aware. For the longest time, people didn't even think that plants and fungi and trees, all these things, they didn't think that they were actually sentient for a long time. And now some people are starting to question that. Especially if you look at the way fungi works, which is a huge neural network just within and around the trees. There's so much you can break down to see that these beings work on such high levels of activity and intelligence that it's almost obscene to say that they don't have sentience or some higher form of intelligence. I would dare to say that they might even be more intelligent than we are in so many ways, considering how long they've survived. And that's the point of organisms, is to see how long they can survive. And we could get even into bacteria, and how bacteria is even essential in our neural network of exploring life and creating and keeping life sustainable. So now that's the physical part of it, which we can mix into the spiritual part of it, which shows that life and consciousness is not based in this physical limitation, like matrix, if you will. Life can be in different things. Some people believe rocks have life. You know, who am I to say that something has life or not? I can, you know, make a hunch, but that is just a hunch. And that's at a level of consciousness that is more centered around logic and trying to understand things. And that is important as that is, there's the other side of it, which is the more intuitive, conscious, aware side of looking at life and seeing how it develops. Now, so who's to say that life doesn't exist right in front of our faces? Who's to say that there's not an entire race of beings that are here reaching the stars and beyond? You know, we're based in our five senses, and yes, we can, you know, look at, you know, radiograph sound waves, and, you know, look at all these different waveforms flowing through our reality, but, you know, we're finding new parts of these waveforms all the time. So we're still pretty early on in our development of understanding the implications of all this around us and how it's working. You know, there's so much to it. And people who are able to shut their logic, logos side down, or not shut down, but have it take a break at least, you know, to look at things in a different way from the more subtle, nuanced nature of reality. They're able to see more. They're able to see, a lot of people are able to see spirits. They're able to see extra-dimensionals, angels. You know, some people say they see God, they see Jesus, they see Buddha, Lao Tzu. Or, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say they saw Lao Tzu. But I don't doubt that happened. So getting back to it, that fundamental nature of life cannot be pinned down to just one way of thinking or one part of our brain, not on one side of logic and understanding. You know, these scientists who discovered these things in the first place had to take faith. They had to be faithful to ideas that were not proven at the time. A lot of these people were considered crazy, and they were considered to be just these really weird thinkers, but now they're considered to be the fathers of modern day physics and technology and all these different things. It's, you know, well, the main point is just to have an open mind. And getting into extraterrestrials, and we're always looking for them as like these physical beings, but who's to say that they're not more of a primordial, essential base of existence? You know, who's to say a waveform itself isn't a sentient life? How can we say that? We don't know. And it just gets to a point where it's almost foolish to just 100% assume that life can be pinned down conceptually as this thing that is, like, is conceptual. Sorry, talking for a while here. Ooh, yeah, didn't think this would be as long of a video, but so my point is when I was able to see spirit, when I was able to see these different beings, and when I've communicated with them, I didn't find them and talk to them through conceptual thought or an ideology or some like mental connection the way I would talk to a human. It took some faith to believe that they exist. Now, minding you, I'm not saying, or I'm not condoning that people just go out there and start talking to extra-dimensional beings, because that's not a good idea unless you're very understanding in what you're doing, if you have guidance and real guidance, and to make sure that you're blessing what you do with love and light, with God, to have a strong heart connection to God. Otherwise, you know, it could be a very bad thing. You could really hurt yourself. You could get into something and open up something that you're not ready for. So be careful when you do what you ever plan to do, or whoever, you know, is planning to do something like that. So yeah, yes, the SETI program, we were looking for extraterrestrial life out there. We didn't find it. We haven't found it yet. Not saying we won't, but as I've kind of explained, with the many variations of life and just in general on our planet, and the many variations of life that we haven't even discovered yet, the many variations of life in the universe is exponentially, perpetually higher, and just the number of potentials will keep going up. So yes, it's okay, sorry, going back to it, it's not the search for the stars in the heavens. That's not the main search to find life beyond Earth. That shouldn't be. I believe it should be within the space between spaces, the interdimensionals, which are here. They're listening. They understand. Some of them are doing things that I do think are not beneficial to the growth of humans, but at the same time, they are the antithesis of the beings of light that we pray to and that we find power through. So in a sense, they hinder the growth, but that hindrance actually is helpful for growth, because, you know, if we just had all light beings, all great beings, you know, helping us along the way, we would not really grow. We wouldn't understand. We wouldn't have the wisdom that we're trying to achieve, or that we have achieved, depending on who you are, where you are in the world. So, and likewise, I'm not saying to go out and like talk to the dark entities. I don't think that's a good idea. They exist, but I don't think they want to help you. I don't think they're here to help you, but their existence and their creation was made by a divine creator. If you believe the divine creator, God, created all of this stuff that we have here, then God created those beings too, and they have a purpose. Now, I'm not going to act like I know their entire purpose, or know the entire purpose of anything, but they are here. We have a lot of different organisms, or I don't want to use the word organisms because I would say they have organs, but they could. Who knows? You know, you get the idea. But yeah, hope that was helpful for somebody. I don't mean to keep rambling on so much. Well, I guess yes, I do actually. Enjoy your day.